Is this like Midnight Yell? We got to talk about that.
More like Midnight Hill, boy.
Because of what it did to the university? What are you drinking? A fucking Trapper Keeper? What is that?
It's a Lisa Frank edition of... it's New Belgium 1985 IPA.
That's not even your birth year.
No free ads.
Yeah. Actually, we do have some ads to talk about right now.
Wait, no, we don't, because we're not recording yet.
Okay, then, yeah. Should I run to go grab the bottle?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll let the listeners build up a little bit. What's good, everyone? Welcome in. About to go live here in a second. Let's wait till we get to double digits. Share this. Share this shit. With your friends. We're not going to record until we get to double-digit listeners live. So we'll just hold out. It's fine. What's up, Ben? What's up, William? You know, I set us up on Twitch at some point, but I don't know if it works. We'll check that while we wait.
There you go.
All right.
Got all the things.
Is Marler on Bama time? I've been waiting an hour because it said 8:15.
Wait.
I don't know how that's
Happy
possible.
birthday, Kip. I think no. We first off, we're gonna blame Justin.
Oh, we are on Twitch. Nice. All right. Well, if anybody has Twitch, go watch us on Twitch.
Let's go.
Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of College Football Uncensored, brought to you by Texas Pete. Yeah, that's right, baby. We got a new sponsor.
Pete, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have said that.
No.
Yes, that's right. No free ads. This is not a free ad. This is we actually just love Texas Pete. Like, legitimately love it.
A reasonable amount, yeah.
What's the weirdest thing you put Texas Pete on? I
can't tell you that. There's a video that will probably be released. So it's behind a paywall, but it's go to my OnlyFans, and you can check out some of the Texas Pete. There's a whole Texas Pete section, to be honest. I mean, the weirdest thing, like, it's not that weird. It's like literally how we started this whole conversation with Texas Pete was in high school, and before anyone asked, yes, I was a virgin. Mainly because of this, because I used to pour Texas Pete on my turkey and eat it with my hands. It was so good, though. How do you get that protein in, bro? Well, I don't want to get I don't want to waste carbs with the bread. Texas Pete has been, and I don't just mean this a little bit, because they were my only friend at lunch, as you could tell from that story. They've been a friend for a long time, 20 plus years.
Well, we're happy to have them on board for this football season. So go out there, get you some Texas Pete, and we'll have a read next week.
Or come here and get some, because we're going to be doing hella giveaways all year.
Love that. We got a big week 3 to preview. We're going to get into a little bit of OU and Texas talk about some things we want to see in some of these games in the SEC, and then we're going to give you our picks and previews. And what's arguably the biggest game of the weekend, Auburn Penn State, we'll do an interview with Auburn on 3, Auburn Live, Justin Hokanson. We've already pre-recorded that, so that will not be live. So we'll sign off after our last picks, and we'll put that interview in at the end.
Actually, we have a special ending that I forgot to tell you about.
Oh.
And that is with Cameron Camp, who's getting married on Saturday, who's going to do some 2-minute drill with us. It's basically going to be me yelling at him about the dangers of being engaged and actually getting married, and then also telling him what my thoughts are about his fall wedding. With some other stuff sprinkled in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it then. First topic of the day before we get into the actual week that is week 3 with some big games, honestly, in the SEC.
Should it be about Midnight Yell for a second?
Yeah, things have escalated since the last time we've talked with Midnight Yell. Yes, let's talk about it.
Well, I don't feel like we talked about Midnight Yell on the last episode, did we?
We didn't. Things have just escalated in general for Texas A&M since the loss to App State. And the last
What
time
if
we
I
talked.
told you that a university that is home to a coach who once called a press conference that no one else called for besides him in the middle of fucking May, just to say someone else is a narcissist? What if I told you that same university was upset about like school sanctioned activities that they filmed for their social media and then tried to shut down immediately after it went viral for all the wrong reasons? What would you believe me if I told you that?
Oh yeah, if it was about Texas A&M, I would actually. I mean that video. First of all, let's just put aside the fact that A&M tried to basically hide it.
Yeah.
I mean, just some of the worst stand-up. I mean, Chris, you're a stand-up comedian.
If I swear to God, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people say that I'm a failed comedian because, one, you would have had to succeed first off to be failed. So fuck off. No, I'm kidding. I'm saying that in jest, but mainly because I still do stand-up comedy. And I feel like, usually when people say that they don't think I'm funny, it's because they're butthurt about something I've said about their team on Twitter, or it's not the demographic I would really want at one of my shows anyway. You've been to some of my shows. You could see what that looks like. If I hear an A&M fan ever again say the phrase failed comedian or bring up my comedy, it's on site. I will borrow your car and drive to College Station so I don't have any, I don't want to leave a paper trail. And then just beat the ever living, ever loving. My God, it was bad.
So we got Kip last year.
Mm-hmm.
My man was popping off. You know how it goes.
You know how it goes.
Do we know this guy's name this year?
It's Zach without a K.
Okay, so just ZAC.
Zach.
It's like phlegm in your throat.
Zach.
It's
like something I would order at a restaurant that I did not want to be at.
What was your favorite joke that he made?
I think at one point there was a different video that came out where he said foul smelling, which
do we know what this is?
You're breaking something off here, man. We should play the video, to be honest. I don't know if we get in trouble for that. I'm not trying to get us shut down in the middle of the fucking pod because of how A&M. I mean, they shut down every single one of those that popped up unless you inverted the video. Yeah, that was probably my favorite. Or the one where he said the 2 brain cells, that seemed a little bit offensive. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Just getting into but at the same time, it was just so sad.
It was very sad.
Weird and very cringeworthy and sad.
Yeah.
So Zach with a C, have we thought about him? Has anyone found him on Instagram or anything like that?
I'm not kidding when I say that we should probably tone it down on how much we make fun of him, which is, when I say we, I mean me. Yeah. Because I would love to get Kip on. If we could get a Midnight Yell leader on the podcast before the Bama A&M game, that would be, I would honestly, part of me would be okay with Georgia winning another national championship. That's a trade-off that I feel like I'm more emotionally willing to give.
Oh, they live stream these.
Oh yeah,
I'm guessing they don't
Friday
anymore.
night.
I'm guessing they won't anymore.
Yes, they do. They came out and they were like, "We are still dedicated, committed." It was like a fucking Fox 5 weather commercial from the 90s. Like, dedicated, determined, dependable. Deep cut, real deep cut.
I can't find a video because they're literally all being blocked.
Yeah,
but
let's get into the actual news then.
Well, let me just show you this picture if it's any consolation. Okay, now, so there's a lot to digest here. The first thing I look at is this guy, this blonde guy.
That guy's name is 1,000% Tanner.
Goes by Thor.
But with a Y. I don't know where.
You don't know where it's placed. It doesn't make any sense. But I think I'm most intrigued. Look at this girl. I mean, these 2 girls are locked in on my guy Tanner.
I mean, he's an attractive guy.
I'll be honest. They're locked in below the belt. If I'm looking at this,
this is a little bit much. Yeah. I mean, listen, there used to be
the youngest person. The youngest person in this picture seems the most disappointed about what's going on.
Yeah, she knows what's up.
Which should tell you a lot.
Yeah, kids don't hide their emotions on mostly anything. As I've come to learn at most first birthday parties that I've had to go to for no reason, for my friends. But also, look, like there's a lot to unpack here. Look at the sweat marks. I'm a sweater, but this guy's got this belly button sweat back here from the cameraman is something else.
Oh, I see what you're saying here.
Yeah, this is. I mean,
I can't zoom in.
Don't zoom in. We don't need to zoom in.
All right. Those that are listening on the pod, this is why you got to show up to the live recordings. Or if you can't show up live, we still have the videos on YouTube and Facebook that you go back and look at this picture that we were digesting there. So, it's, I thought Casey Smith from Unnecessary Roughness, she went to A&M. I thought she handled it well. She owned it. She was like, yeah, we do some weird shit. We've got some cool traditions, but once you do it, you can't try to hide it. And that's a lame move. And I don't know. Very interesting.
I agree with that.
So, we're going to be talking about that game because it's an interesting time in College Station right now. The temperature seems elevated there. So that's not great with a big game on deck. Texas and OU not going to be in the SEC next year.
Yeah, so this news broke. I don't know who broke it, and I really don't care. I hate to say that, but it was probably I don't think it was unexpected from everything we have heard from like Georgia camp, especially. But basically, we saw a tweet that came out earlier this morning, and I forgot exactly who it's from. I put this in the actual, what do you call it, in the Google Doc, but basically the SEC has directed the UGA and Tennessee to postpone scheduled football games versus Oklahoma because the transition of Oklahoma into the SEC will not allow for the involved institutions to fulfill their respective contractual non-conference home and home appearance obligations. So what does that mean? Basically, next year, Georgia was scheduled to play Oklahoma. They were also scheduled to play Tennessee. Tennessee was also scheduled to play them in Norman in 2024. They basically found out the SEC directed them to change that ASAP, which was again, this was it wasn't just something that fell into their lap. They dropped a bomb on them today. They knew this was most likely coming. So that's why they were able to find such quick replacements. But the big questions here, and Georgia replaces Oklahoma with Ball State. Oklahoma replaces Georgia with SMU. So huge paydays for SMU and Ball State, especially Ball State.
SMU is actually a pretty decent program.
Yeah. I do think they're a program that's going to get potentially rated with the portal sometimes, but it doesn't really matter today. So Ball State, a member of the MAC. I'm not sure if this game, it says it's going to be played on September 9th, 2023. I don't know if that's a Tuesday night, but I wish it would be. Would love to see some action and some SEC crossover.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But that being said, what sucks here is it doesn't really necessarily mean that that the OU in Texas, I guess, Big 12 contract isn't going to get disrupted and they're going to be here next year or 2024. I don't know if we don't know that's entirely true. That is what it looks like. That does look like the case where now you're looking at potential 2025, which was the original agreement. I don't think anybody thought it would take that long to get here, especially since it was announced in 2021 at Media Days. Still, what sucks here honestly for the fans, Georgia fans, more than anything, because Kirby did a really, really good job of going out and getting ahead of this. And I think that you kind of saw where the future of football was going. We talked about playoff expansions like this in the past. I remember saying this on when I was on the old podcast with Connor, and that was, you wonder if Kirby and some of these coaches knew that was going to be the end game, because you saw a shift in some of these big neutral site games, which is kind of a thing for a little over a decade. And then Georgia even playing in one this year, and a shift into this almost, I don't want to say an arms race, but they were just eating up some of these non-conference games with Oklahoma, Florida State. They already played Notre Dame, and they're setting up these home and homes. And that seemed like that was like the spoiler alert for they were going to have expansion. That is what ended up happening with expansion. But I mean, the schedule for Georgia. Have you seen it now? Like the home schedule
for 2023?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, look
Yeah.
at this year's and for next year.
Yeah,
I don't know why I don't just like start when I see tweets like this. I don't know why I don't just save them. Anyway, the home slate is obviously you lose a game with Oklahoma. You're placing with Ball State. You have Georgia Tech already on there. They play UAB, and I can't even remember who the other one is. If you guys know,
Martin.
UT Martin. That sucks, man. Like, I mean, that sucks. Like, you know, that's and that's also like this kind of goes back for a while with Georgia fans where they've kind of gotten the short end of the stick, not only with some of the non-con games, and I know they played Notre Dame a couple of years ago, but you know, like even with some of like the primetime games, like, you know, up until last year, they were on the short end of the stick on a lot of stuff, mainly because of Bama and LSU, and like the 12 o'clock starts. Even that Arkansas game a year ago, that was a 12 o'clock start when you had game day there. That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's always interesting to see a team of Georgia's caliber have to play UT Martin, Ball State, who else? UAB, and then Georgia Tech. Yeah. What an absolute thrilling non-conference schedule that is.
I will say this too. For the first time after seeing this happen, I kind of wonder if that Georgia Tech series is going to come to an end.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the broader picture of college football and how it's changing, if you do believe that we're going to be going to kind of these two mega conferences, I think if at that point you're not really going to be playing a lot of out of conference games, right? And I don't know that Georgia Tech will be a part of the SEC at any point. So it very well may, you know, they may stop playing. I mean, it's a waste of a game at this point. Yeah. Until Georgia Tech's a little bit more serious about football.
Yeah, that's fair.
When they hire Prime.
Yeah, which I think would be awesome. Anyway, that's the news from that. You want to get into week 3?
Yeah, let's do it. Before we pick and preview some games, obviously there's some smaller games in the SEC that we want to at least acknowledge. So let's do week 3 in the SEC. One thing that you want to see from each one of these games. Let's start with Arkansas versus Missouri State.
All right, one, I want to see Arkansas win. More than anything, what I want to see, and a lot of these are going to be serious, okay? Like, a lot of them are actual, like, focused around the game. This one is not. There's one thing I want to see and one thing only, and that is when Arkansas comes out on the field and runs through the A, I pray to God their mascot has been talking to Puddles, the Oregon Duck mascot, about how to effectively wear mascot gloves and attire and still ride a motorcycle out. I want to see the hog ride out on a motorcycle, not the live hog, not Tusk, because I don't think he has thumbs. I don't know everything about. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know him personally. He might have had thumbs. It's 2022. You can identify as anything. But I will say that I really hope that he fucking comes out on a motorcycle with it. If he comes out with a neck brace too, that's even better.
Yeah, my thing that I want to see in this game is just Arkansas stay healthy.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a game that you roll them up a little bit, get your starters in there and out of there. This isn't game 1. You know, I get it if you're playing an FCS school, something in game 1, and you just want to make sure that people get in the rhythm. Arkansas is well into their schedule now. There's no reason for the starters to be playing too long in this game. Just stay healthy.
Yep.
Tennessee versus Akron. Obviously, the same thing there. I really don't even know that you play Hendon Hooker more than a quarter in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Also,
you got a big game on deck. You got maybe they just announced they sold that game out against Florida. Don't get too cute in this game.
Yeah.
I just save your starters.
Yeah, I mean, so Akron is not very good offensively. I would love to see. It is Joe Moorhead, so they're especially in their pod. They got to be just all over that noise. Joe Moorhead at Akron, they're 0-2 against the spread. All I really want to see from here some like defensive work. I mean, the spread is 47.5, which seems kind of crazy. Because that is basically saying stay healthy, cracks. That's basically saying that you like, I mean, what, like 61 to, I don't know what the over under is. I haven't seen that part of it yet, but I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that is a lot to cover. I just want to see the defense like kind of bow their neck a little bit. And like you said earlier with Arkansas, no injuries, get into next week and not have to have Hendon Hooker or Cedric Tillman win you a football game. Maybe get the run game going a little bit, something like that.
Kentucky, Youngstown State. I believe, is this a like a Mark Stoops hometown game? Isn't he from there?
Yeah. So Mark Stoops is actually the starting running back ahead of Maurice Claret. No, I'm kidding. Mark Stoops is the whole Stoops family, really. They're from Youngstown, obviously, and he's done like a tremendous job of kind of, growing some inroads with recruiting in that area, and also giving back to the community. I think he has at Youngstown in general, it has a very, very, what's the best way to put this without sounding super white? Like, I just want to say like a very serious, like people that are from there really, really, that's like a Youngstown versus the world type thing. Those sweatshirts people say, and they're like, yeah, Gwinnett County versus the world. And you're like,
straight out of Youngstown. Straight out of
Youngstown. Those are the worst. I tell you what I don't want to see out of this game or ever again with anything is the stay calm or keep calm and blank signs.
No.
There was one at game day last week, or straight out of yeah.
I mean,
keep
come on.
And
when's the last time you went on the chive?
Like probably 4:00 today. I do it every day. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I put on a tank top and self tanner, and then I get on the chive. That's my favorite thing to do.
Well, that's sick, bro. I mean, I missed 2005 as well.
Yeah.
Florida versus USF for me. You're a 24.5 point favorite here in this game. The first two games that you've played have been against good opponents. You've had your quarterback look really good in one of them, really bad in the other one. Let's work on some things with your QB. Yeah. Maybe not throw every pass 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
When you're scrambling, keep your eyes downfield. If I'm Florida, I want to work on some stuff in this game because you should, as a 3 touchdown plus favorite, really more than that. I mean, you're basically a four touchdown favorite. You should be able to work on some things and feel good about that. I mean, I get it's an in-state school and they're going to want to play up for that game, but man, God help you if you lose that one, if you're Napier. But yeah, I work on my offense and just figure out what we can do with Richardson.
Right. Yeah. South Florida. That's actually what South Florida is ranked 95th in the country 93rd in the country in pass defense. And usually in games like this, you don't really want to air it out. But this is also the same program that he went off against last year, early on in the season. So, and kind of started the whole hype train. Get back to that. Get this kid confident again. Because listen, there's a lot of stuff as a team you need to work on, right? But at the same time, the team is 15. And you got to work on some intermediate passing routes, work on not throwing the ball 1,000 miles an hour, and go from there. That's what I would say.
Mizzou, Abilene Christian. Just give me
Abilene. Come on, dude.
My bad, bro.
Caroline, Brian.
Let me see 3 touchdowns from Luther Burden, just so he doesn't transfer.
Let me see 3 fucking touches from Luther Burden. Right. He had 2 touches last week. What are we doing?
Yep.
You have to give him. I want to be nice and say, hey, you got to give him double-digit touches. I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah, you don't get many chances to bring a guy like him in to the program, and when you do, you got to make sure those guys stay happy. So
I would give him and Mookie Cooper both 10+ touches.
Love it,
or at least targets.
Vandy, Northern Illinois, interesting game here.
Okay, so this I don't know what the over is.
Get me a win, Vandy. Come on now.
That's all I want to see. Get your win and get over the 2.5 you have. They're an underdog and they're playing at Northern Illinois. That makes me so fucking mad. I said this on Chris Gordy's podcast the other day, or Locked on SEC. Just once, I just want to see Vandy do what every bro from Buckhead does in Atlanta and just be that $30,000 millionaire, fake it till you make it, and just pretend you fucking belong. For the love of God, go rent an Acura because it's an almost nice car for the weekend. Drive it up there to wherever the hell Northern Illinois is, and please go win.
I believe it's in DeKalb.
DeKalb, you idiot.
No, it's pronounced DeKalb up there, and I promise you that.
Is that real?
Yeah, that's real.
I didn't mean to call you an idiot. I'm sorry. It's my bad. My bad.
But it is spelled exactly like DeKalb, Georgia, which is why you thought
DeKalb
that.
County. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
Straight out of DeKalb. Anyway, the GF's dad is a alum. And I, again, I'm not too young to remember Michael the Burner Turner putting up 120 plus rushing yards on Bama in 2003 and beating them. Please God, just Mike Wright. Like these two passing defenses are ranked 118 and 119. That is not good. That's not good. What was
the Northern Jordan Lynch?
Oh, that was when they went to like the Orange Bowl.
You remember he was like the Mac Tebow.
Yeah, didn't he play y'all in the Orange Bowl?
Yeah, they did. He like talked shit before the game, and they lost by like 24 or something like that. And then a reporter wrote, "Get used to this, Florida State fans. This is your peak." And then the next year we went undefeated and won the national championship.
So he was off by a year. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you this:
if peaking is winning national championships, I'll do that.
You got very loud and aggressive there.
Yeah, I mean, seems like a good peak to have, I would say.
Northern Illinois is they're ranked 119th in terms of yards per attempt. They're allowing 8.9 yards per attempt. That is bad.
Real bad.
So Mike Wright, as good as they've been, like as good as he's been rushing the ball, they have got to get the passing game going. So
hey, it's good to see Liz tuned in again.
Yeah, there you go.
She doesn't normally watch, I feel like. Lastly, Bama, your boys versus ULM. What do you want to see? Because I just want to see the receivers get some sort of separation.
I would love to see the receivers make some catches. I would love to see a 100-yard rusher. I saw a stat the other day that said this. Also, more than anything, no injuries. Just please, for the love of God, no injuries. I saw a stat the other day that had the top 10 SEC leaders in passing yards, rushing yards, and receiving yards. Do you know how many Bama players were on those three lists combined?
0.
1.
Ooh.
Bryce Young is 8th in passing yards in the SEC. Now they're 2 games in. That's an issue for me. If you can't like that, there's just I'm fine with not having like the overall workload go to a small amount of people. I don't think that they have figured out like that 4th and 1 a week ago, where you have the ball like on the Texas 20-something yard line late in the game with like 4 minutes left. You have a chance to ice it, and it ended up resulting in Texas going back down and kicking what would have been the game-winning field goal. You had a 4th and 1. You were in shotgun formation, and Jahmyr Gibbs was nowhere to be found. Also, neither was Jace McClellan, who had the most rushing yards on the team that day and an 81-yard rushing touchdown. Your 3rd string running back in. Why? I just want to see more efficiency. I would love to see a sack out of Will Anderson. Love to see him not line up offsides. I'd love to see Eli Ricks getting the game.
What was going on with that?
I don't know.
Maybe he needs LASIK, like Jameis.
Did Jameis need LASIK? Jameis needed therapy.
Remember when he always used to do this?
No.
No,
I wasn't a big Jameis fan. I didn't really watch him very closely, especially after Sunday.
Well, he's just doing what he does. All right, week 3 picks and previews. We'll start with actually the biggest spread on the slate. It's not Georgia Tech Ole Miss, surprisingly.
Yeah,
but it's UGA versus South Carolina. So this one is at 12 p.m. on ESPN. Number 1 Georgia at South Carolina. South Carolina plus 24.5 at home. That's a big home dog. Over under 54. UGA. They've won the last 6 of the past 7 meetings against South Carolina. They've outscored this year alone their opponents 82-3. I don't think the outcome is in question in this game, but how do you see this game playing out?
So 24.5 is a lot of points. I got some good numbers on this, and I'll give them all to you here. I don't think this game is close, but I think that this is a backup or a backdoor cover written all over it. I mean, like 24.5 is just a lot of points. There's nothing numbers wise that makes me think South Carolina is going to be able to hang with them. You know, they're ranked 129th in rushing defense. So, and Georgia hasn't really had to run the football. But this is the perfect this is the perfect, for some of the things that Kirby or the fans have kind of like been frustrated about for really no reason because of how dominant they've been. But like, if there's not even critiques, but a few things that you would like, a couple cherries you want to throw on top of these early performances, get into the quarterback, get some sacks. This offensive line is bad. They're again, like they've allowed 8 sacks on Spencer Rattler and only 93 dropbacks. It's the 13th ranked 13th rated offensive line in the SEC from PFF out of 14 teams, obviously. Again, rush defense, awful. And really you could say, well, maybe they just got gashed from Arkansas because Arkansas is so deep and that's what they do and they run the football. They didn't look great against Georgia State against the run.
Yeah. They're giving up 295 yards a game on the ground. Or no, last week they gave up 295 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns. Right. Yeah, you can run pretty easily on South Carolina right now. They can't run the ball. They're averaging 59.5 yards per game on the ground, which is 125th in the country. I didn't even realize that the FBS had more than 125 teams.
They've had like 130 for years.
Rattler's been okay. 600 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 3 picks.
But a lot of that was like in garbage time against Arkansas.
I just think that Carolina, I think this is where UGA just runs the ball down their throat. Mm-hmm. The only thing that intrigues me in this game is the under 54. Because if Georgia just kind of takes the air out of the ball and just stays committed to the run, that time is just going to tick, 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 tick. Actually, you know, people talk a lot of shit about Jimbo and his kind of antiquated offense and how little plays that he runs. And they are correct because he's last in the FBS, 130, if you will.
Yeah.
The Georgia and Auburn are both down there as well. They don't run a lot of plays per game either. So Georgia's going to be very methodical in this game. I think the under 54 is what I would play in this game, but obviously I'm going to take Georgia to win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Georgia. I'm going to stay away from the over-under. Like for Carolina to win this game, you have got to pick spots where you catch Georgia in some of these blitzes. And I don't think they're going to need to blitz. So that might not even happen. But like guys like Marshawn Lloyd and your playmakers getting them in space. Stonger has not been great from Oklahoma. I brought this up in the offseason and I looked it up again. There's 11 offensive linemen that are 4 stars or better on Oklahoma's roster currently, 2 5-stars as well. There are 2 that are 4 stars or better on South Carolina. Spencer Rattler has been running for his life most of this season. He saw it like a lot in the spring game even. Kirby's 22-4 in road games as the UGA head coach. They have won their last 3 in Columbia and 5 of their last 6 for South Carolina overall. Again, the only loss they have to them under Kirby is that upset they had a couple of years ago when Rodrigo Blankenship, God rest his soul, missed that kick in overtime.
To be clear, he didn't die. He just got cut.
Right. His career's over. Right. So they are USC ranked 111th in rushing yards per carry, which is awful. I already said the 22-4. The away team is covered in 6 straight. But as far as Georgia, man, I don't see they've had 5. They're 5-1 against South Carolina, like under Kirby, and those 5 wins have come by 21.5 points per game. They're 9-1 and they're against the spread in their last 10 games away from home. I just don't see anything that South Carolina has that would point to that not happening. I'm probably going to stay away from it just because of, I think the backdoor cover possibilities. I'll look at what the first half line is, but Georgia's going to steamroll South Carolina.
Yeah. Another point here is William Gray brings up South Carolina has a lot of injuries. They lost 2 their starting linebackers for the year last week to ACLs.
That's awful.
That's not great. Feel bad for those kids. They also lost their standout corner, Cam Smith, in that game. And really, they haven't talked about his availability this week much, so that'll be
Right.
something to watch as well. But yeah, I agree. Georgia rolls here.
Yeah, first half line is 13.5 at some books, around 14. I would hammer that. And I would love to see the team total as well.
Yeah. Another game that probably isn't as intriguing as the rest on the slate, Georgia Tech versus Ole Miss. Line on that is currently 16. This is a 3:30 game on ABC. Number 20, Ole Miss at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, 16-point home dog. Over under is 65. This is the first time these teams have played since the 2013 Music City Bowl. I guess the intriguing thing here for Ole Miss, and maybe why the line is so low, because in my opinion, 16 is low. Luke Altmaier, who had been starting last week against Central Arkansas, he got he got an upper body injury in that game, and he was removed in the first half after throwing a pick, and he was replaced by Jackson Dart, who was the first game starter. Kiffin's plan was always to alternate the two at the beginning of the season. I would say neither one of them. I mean, Altmaier, I guess I don't know. Is he the starter? Like, do you know? Do you have insight on this? Because
I do not have insight on it. What I would assume is going to happen, especially because they both played and they played well last week. Maybe you roll with Altmaier just because they got off to a much better start in that game a week ago. And somebody, if you guys know, there's Ole Miss fans, like you guys might know better than us, just because it's something that I've admittedly not kept up with during the week. Whoever it is, it doesn't really matter because you still I still think that this is a competition and it's going to be solved. They play Tulsa next week, and then you get Kentucky coming in for homecoming, and they will have settled on a quarterback then at that point. Georgia Tech is bad in general. They're very odd when you try to look up any kind of like scouting and stuff like that. Georgia Tech is a team that gave up more yards and points and yards per play against Western Carolina than they did to Clemson. Which, still not great. Either way you look at it, they played Western Carolina a week ago, won 35-17. The first half line here is 9.5. I would bet your mortgage on that.
Georgia Tech, I believe, was losing to Western Carolina at the half last week.
That's pathetic.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Trigg had 3 touchdowns, tied the school record last week against Central Arkansas. 56-point victory over Central Arkansas was the largest margin of victory since 2015. Zach Evans continues to be a force on the ground, but also you got a true freshman from Pike Road, Alabama, named Quinshawn Judkins, which is a name that I absolutely love. He's averaging 8 yards per carry. Kiffin is really high on this guy. He said his vision is elite. I think Ole Miss runs all over Georgia Tech. They have a putrid run defense.
So bad.
One of the worst in the country.
Also one of the worst pass defenses.
Which would have me look at the under in this game. That man, 65. I mean, I guess Kiffin just decides, hey, I'm in Atlanta, so it's a good opportunity for me to showcase my program in a city and a state that has a lot of good recruits. Unless he pours it on. But I mean, even if they win something like 45-15 or 14, that's still under. And I could see something like that. But man, the only thing that scares me about this is the fact that it's a 16-point line. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Okay. I don't know how to respond to that. So again, for me, this is going to be a perfect first half line. So they were tied with Western Carolina, 14-all at the end of the first half last week. To give up 14 points to think about how well that defense played in week 1 against Clemson, and then you come out and give up a scripted first series touchdown and a 49-yard pass, and then a 22-yard run, or I believe, or pass. What's Ole Miss's thing? Score from far. I mean, you're giving up 49-yard passes. Maybe it's a bust. I don't know. Good news for Tech is they didn't give up, anything else besides a field goal in the fourth quarter, the last 3 quarters of that game. But by all means, man, that secondary and that what do you call it? Pass defense is also really, really bad. They're ranked 80th or worse in almost every single category. They did have 3 interceptions last week, so I would like to see Ole Miss take care of the football. But I mean, pick your poison, man. Like they will. Like I said last week, they might have a 2-headed monster at running back. They might have a 3-headed monster at running back with Judkins, like you said, Zach. I always want to say Zach Etheridge,
Zach
Evans, and then also the kid from SMU. That's and then Trigg in the red zone. Ole Miss will put this game away early. 9.5 in the first half feels like free money. And also, just from a number standpoint, Tech is 1-8 against the spread in their last 9 overall. They're 1-6 in their last 7 games against like actual FBS opponents in Bobby Dodd. And Ole Miss is 5-1 in their last 6. What do you call it? Regular season non-con games against the spread. So nice. I take Ole Miss big.
Another school in Mississippi will be visiting Louisiana. We got Mississippi State at LSU, 6 p.m. on ESPN. Mississippi State, 2.5-point favorite on the road at night in Death Valley, over under 53.5. Mississippi State, I wouldn't say they've actually played like a super cupcake schedule. I mean, it's not like they've been playing FCS schools. They've had Memphis and Arizona. Cruised through both those. They only trailed for a total of 7.5 minutes in between 2 of those games. Will Rogers leads the nation in completions per game, tied for second in touchdowns with 9 and third in average passing yards. LSU kind of got, honestly, like skewered for losing to Florida State, which, I get it. Like Florida State's been down, but like let's wait for the season to play out to see if that was like a totally awful game. I mean, I would like to see at home, they get John Emery back from suspension. I think some of their numbers as far as stats are concerned are pretty skewed because they absolutely demolished Southern last weekend. They were up 50-0 at halftime.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, it was 51-0. They were 37-0 in the first quarter.
I really don't need much analysis. If you ever give me LSU getting points at home at night, I'm going to take LSU. So give me LSU plus 2.5.
This one kills me a little bit because like historically, all the numbers obviously with LSU, I think they're like 12-3 in their last 15 SEC openers at home. They are 19-3 against Mississippi State overall since the year 2000. That's when Saban got there. They are 13-2 in their last 15 games versus Mississippi State in Baton Rouge. However, they're only 2-2 in the last 4. Obviously, we know the KJ Costello game, and then also in 2017 they had a game. I believe it was actually there. Maybe it was against. Maybe that was in Starkville. Either way, Mississippi State has won 2 of the last 4 trips to Baton Rouge, which is kind of crazy. Oh, it was the Dak Prescott game from 2014. So that's not really, whatever. But they have not won back-to-back games in Starkville since in the last 30 years. Last time they did it was 81 and 83. Leach's numbers are actually pretty surprisingly good. They're 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 SEC road games. Also, the under is 6-1 in the last 7 in this series, and I just have to assume that the one time it did not hit was in that fucking 2020 game where they threw for 6,000 yards. Here's the number I'm going to go with. It's going to convince me to bet LSU at night, and I will take LSU to win. Brian Kelly is 13-5-1 all time as a home underdog. So Death Valley at night, kind of at night because it's like a weird 6:00 start or something. I'm going to take LSU, and I almost hate to do it because Mississippi State is a good football team. And we said this the other day where they're a good football team in a lot of ways that we don't give them credit for. It's not just Will Rogers, who also doesn't get enough love, but they're a good defensive football team. They're a good team. Key for this game, in my opinion, LSU. How do you pitch a shutout at one point in this game? Like, you're not going to shut out Mississippi State for 4 quarters, but how do you do it for 1 quarter? Maybe the first or third or second, like whatever. How do you shut them out? So you can have your offense hopefully make up some ground that you're assuming you might need to make up because they've not been great. So,
yeah, I think LSU in the Florida State game, they've sold out to play the run, and they did a really good job playing the run, but they kind of got torn up by a QB who traditionally hasn't been a great passer. You're facing Will Rogers, who's a much better passer than Jordan Travis. How do you respond to that? I kind of
Right.
like the over in this game potentially, even though I know you said that this game plays to the under a lot. But let me take LSU, and I'll take them something like 28-24, something like that.
You know what I feel like would be a good
Which
bet?
might be the under now that I'm thinking about it.
I mean, so I'm going to take LSU probably 28-27, but I'd say it would be a good bet, even though it's probably dumb, as you always tell me, like not to make teasers or not to play teasers. Teasing LSU at home and Auburn at home as home underdogs. I mean, if you can get that over like 10.5 with these two, that'd be.
Well, we'll get into the Auburn preview in a minute, but yeah, that's going to be an I like that money line. What about the money? How about just a money line parlay? LSU
No, that's
Auburn.
different than what I was saying. It's very different.
So okay, all right.
I'm saying
Texas A&M
10
versus
points.
Miami.
Don't lose by more than 10 points. You're out of control. You bet 70. You bet Hawaii plus 70 last week, and you've lost all control.
Do you lose control when you win? Saturday, September 17th, 9 p.m. on ESPN. Number 13 Miami at number 24 Texas A&M. A&M 5.5-point favorite, over under 45, which is very low.
Yeah.
So knowing Jimbo Fisher's history, this is the type of game that he comes out and puts on a show on offense. Now, I don't know if he's got it in him this year, but typically in these big games, he's well schemed up. He's been planning for this game probably since the offseason, because because they're using this game as a huge weekend for recruits. They're having a ton of recruits in town for this game. He wants to put on a show. There's been a lot of chatter around A&M and specifically Jimbo needing to give up play calling. I think he's going to be ready to attack in this game. Miami, I think they're going to be a really solid national title contender in probably 3 years when they get some Cristobal recruits in there. But thus far, their offense they ran last year when everyone was so high on their quarterback was Rhett Lashley, who basically he runs a really good college offense because you don't need you don't have to be able to dissect different zone reads, and it's just go. It's a very easy offense to understand. Van Dyke this year has not looked great thus far in this offense, and you can tell he's hesitant on his throws. They've played Bethune-Cookman and they've played Southern Miss. So any stats that they've put up, I don't take them into consideration at this point. Bethune-Cookman is one of the worst FCS programs there is, and Southern Miss ain't great. And they were losing to Southern Miss at one point. I think they might have been losing at halftime.
They were not. Keep saying that, but they were not.
Okay. I think it's the first time I've said that. But I think Texas A&M at home, at night, big game. I think Jimbo schemes it up. I'm going to take A&M to win by more than 5.5. I'm going to get them to cover. I do like the under, though. I will say that.
That's fair.
Because I like Texas A&M's defense, even though their offense has been struggling. Miami's defense probably still – it's Kevin Steele. Kevin Steele's traditionally done a really good job against Jimbo offenses, so that'll be something to watch. So I'll take the under, and that's a low under, but I'll take A&M to win the game. Cover.
So, yeah, I don't see how A&M doesn't. I just have a hard time thinking that Jimbo does this 2 weeks in a row. I've loved how all the A&M fans they're going to win this game, and they're going to come out here and beat their chest. You're supposed to win this game. I think this was I wish I would have seen what this was in the preseason, because it was double digits for sure in terms of the point spread. You got a first-year coach coming in. You're at a program that Jimbo is 7-1 all time against. Here's the number that I can't get past, and I want to because I really, really don't want to pick A&M. But they're at home, and it's at night, and we've seen what that atmosphere can be like. Jimbo is 8-2 in his last 10 games at A&M after a loss. The only games he didn't win was after they lost to number 4 Georgia in 2019, and they had to follow that up with number 1 LSU. So that was tough. And then last year when they lost to Arkansas and then lost at home to Mississippi State. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but A&M losing back-to-back home games would be kind of a shock in general, especially with the number I just gave you. I do think that Mario Cristobal, like I wish I would have looked into the numbers a little bit more just to see like if there's anything that would give me some, I don't know, a glimmer of hope. 5.5 point spread. I told you about this. I don't know the numbers, but I will always reference it. 72% of teams favored by 5.5 or 5 points or 5.5 points don't cover. That was a stat I read a decade ago, and it still holds true. I think. Anyway, Tyler Van Dyke, terrible name. Just sounds like he is like an 8th grade young Republican. Love it. Like what he does on the field. Hate the last name. Tough last name. They're gonna lose. And I'm actually gonna say A&M will cover this spread, just because Jimbo knows. This is perfect. This is what Jimbo does. Like he will find something to hang his hat on, no matter how unimpressive it is. And that fan base is vulnerable enough to where they feel like they need this win, and he's going to give it to them.
Before we close with the last prediction of the week, I just got to shout out a guy in the Facebook group. Remember last week when I was discussing Jimbo, and I said I was disappointed that they didn't show him a lot on the television, because oftentimes in a situation like that, I predicted it. I said, my guess is if you saw Jimbo right now, he'd have the glasses half down his nose, looking panicked, just huge play sheet in hand while his team is struggling to score points. My man, Andrew DiGiacomo, found this picture.
Giacomo. Oh my God. That's not from that game.
I don't know. He's the one that posted it. It's described perfectly.
It was a day game.
Okay. Either way. This describes him perfectly.
Yeah.
You're spot on. Glasses on the nose, play sheet in hand, looking panicked.
Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. You nailed the description for sure.
So anyways, anything else before we get to our guest?
No, I do want to get into some of the numbers after we cut away from them. So I don't want to close out yet. How do we do that?
We can't do that live. So
I'll write down the time here, Tyler.
Okay.
All right, let's just preview the Auburn game first, and then get into it. So I have a different feeling on this, I think, than you do. We have an interview with Justin Hokanson. We'll see how this works. So we have an interview with Justin Hokanson from auburnlive.com, which is the Auburn on 3 website. He's a great dude, a little bit of a pessimist. I always give him a hard time. Great follow on Twitter. Very much over the what do you call it? The orange jersey talk. So if you're listening to this on the actual podcast, we are going to cut to Justin Hokanson. If you are watching us live, we're going to keep going, and we'll just segue out of it, and you're going to see how the magic is basically made. So without further ado, cut to Justin Hokanson.
Thank you.
Cut
All
back.
right, for you live folks, let's just do a little bit of, and people that are watching on YouTube. Let's do this. 3:30 on CBS. Number 22, Penn State at Auburn. Auburn 3-point underdog at home. Another low under 48. Penn State last year won this game. It's the exact reverse situation. You have an unranked home underdog versus a ranked visiting team. Last year, Penn State pulls it out 28-20. We've mentioned this. Auburn doing the orange out, which just looks idiot. It just looks like an idiot put those together. I've never seen. I don't know if what I saw on Twitter is what they're actually wearing. It's one of the worst, like, combos I've seen.
We'll post it. Where's it at?
Here, I'll try to find it while we go through this.
We did one of these with TJ Finley as like a joint post with somebody who's a grown man that calls himself the Graphic God. Actually does really good work. It's just a very aggressive Instagram handle. And he did like one of these like alternate uniforms, like I guess like edits like earlier this year, and it was like orange helmet, orange pants, orange shirts, or orange jerseys. I don't think that happens, but they will. Auburn hasn't worn orange jerseys in any capacity, I think, since 1978. It would be cool because it's an alternate uniform, and that's what gets the kids going. It's sexual and violent. No, that's from Wedding Crashers. What is it? It gets the people going.
It's
provocative.
Yeah, it's the skating movie.
Yeah, there it is. We killed
Can't
it.
remember what it's
called. Either way, I think that the uniforms would look pretty sick. I think Auburn's, when they did like the white face mask and the orange face mask, those look pretty legit. Either way, are you still trying to find this picture?
Yeah, it must be fake because I can't find it.
All right. Well, either way, so let's get into some of the numbers, and I'll tell you what I think, and you give me your prediction too. Like we kind of alluded to it during the interview with Hoganson. You'll see that, or you heard that. But here are the numbers that I can't get past, because I don't think James Franklin is a great big game coach. And I know Auburn's not ranked, and I know what they looked like early on against San Jose State. Left a lot to be desired in that game, and maybe against Mercer. Those games don't matter. I think Harsin's a good enough coach to know that he has to keep some things like close to the vest, especially in a year like this where he's under so much scrutiny and under such a microscope. I do think that Auburn comes out and plays very, very inspired football and keeps this close the entire game, just because of the way Auburn Jesus and Jordan Hare are going to be. Here are the numbers you need to know. Auburn is 15-1 in their last 16 September home games. They are also 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games as a home underdog. This was a line that shifted last week, like I said, after the San Jose State game, we saw it open at like a pick'em, Auburn maybe like -1, to now being a 3-point underdog. Now Penn State is 8-1 their last 9 games against regular season non-con, but none of those came against teams like Auburn or SEC. Yes, Blaze of Glory. Auburn is 1-5 against the spread in their last 6, but here's what I can't get away from. Penn State is 5-7 in their last 12 road games, and more importantly, they've been they've been 1-4 in their last 5 games. I think you even said 2-5 in their last 7 on the road as a touchdown or less favorite in that game. When they've been favored by 7 points or less, they are only 2-5 in their last 7 and 1-4 in their last 5. I think they get beat. I saw the Purdue game. I've seen what James Franklin does in big games. This doesn't play into it because Auburn's not ranked, but in my opinion, it does, because they will be after this weekend. James Franklin's 11-20 as versus top 25 teams at Penn State. Again, Auburn's not ranked, but they will be after this Saturday. Auburn's going to win by 7 to 10 points.
Another stat on Franklin: Penn State under Franklin 4-9 against the spread in their last 13 regular season games away from home as a favorite of less than 7 points. So not only have they lost straight up, but they don't cover at all. 7-6 straight up in those games. Look, Auburn, as bad as the quarterback situation looks right now, they've done a really good job of staying in second and third and manageable. They've played 2 cupcakes to this point, but they're running the ball on almost 70% of their plays, which is smart when you have a guy like Tank Bigsby, who's one of the best running backs in the country. That's where they're going to find success against Penn State. Teams this year are throwing almost 75% of the time on Penn State, so they haven't been tested a lot on the ground. If you can stay ahead of the chains like Auburn's been able to do, Penn State's defense has not been good on third and fourth short situations. You can get push on their D-line. I really like Auburn to cover this spread. I'll take them to win as well. I think I agree with you on the Franklin thing. It's an interesting. He's an interesting guy because he's such a hot candidate every time a big job opens up. I know he did really good things at Vandy, but I mean, he's been pretty underwhelming at Penn State, in my opinion. So I don't think you mess around with trying to pass the ball too much. Penn State's been tested through the air. They got some really good DBs in Keaton Ellis and Joey Porter Jr. Tank Bigsby's averaging 5.5 yards per carry. Let him do some work. Again, I said this about Georgia. Auburn is 114th in the country in plays per game, so getting close to Jimbo territory there. So they're not running a lot of plays. It's probably because they're running the ball so much. I think that's probably a good thing in this situation. Just try to wear on Penn State. They're not used to playing that physical SEC style. And I mean, clearly Vegas thinks this is going to be a low scoring game. I think it will as well. But I'll take Auburn to win by a point.
All right. Last thing. If you can get in here in the next minute, we will do this. We have a very special guest here. Our good buddy Cameron Camp, which is one of my good friends, one of the pod mods in the Facebook group. He is getting married on Saturday. I don't know if I'm probably not going to be able to go, and this is the RSVP to that. So instead of getting him a wedding gift, right, like he asked for, we're going to do 2-minute drill with Cam if he signs in here.
Okay,
we'll count it down.
I might have to let you run this because I have been on here for a while and I got to go eat dinner.
Okay, well, you know what? Okay, we'll set it up a different time. I love you, buddy. We're very happy for you, very proud of you. Hope the wedding is fantastic. From all of us here, we appreciate all the hard work you do in the Facebook group as well. We will set up a different time. Thank you for y'all for joining, and we will talk to y'all, I guess, next week.
Sunday, in fact. This week.
Sunday, yeah, that's right.
All right, best of luck to all your teams. Don't forget, I'm going to throw it up at the bottom here. Give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 424-430-0045. We want to hear the crazy come out when your team has a huge win or a very upsetting loss. Was disappointed we didn't hear from a lot of A&M fans in the voicemails after the App State game. So give us a call. Leave us a voicemail, 424-430-0045. We won't be picking up, so just leave a voicemail, 424-430-0045. 5-star rankings on iTunes. I guess Apple Podcasts just doesn't work at this point.
We'll figure it out.
That is not a podcast thing. That is everyone's podcast. I saw Pardon My Take tweet about it today. I saw my favorite Florida State podcast tweet about it. So I think Apple Podcasts is struggling. Spotify for now, YouTube, and then Apple Podcasts, I'm sure will get it figured out. So go give us some rankings. Give us a review. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Good luck this weekend.